What is consciousness? And what does it mean to truly live life awake? Welcome to Clarity to Consciousness, a podcast where we transcend beyond stereotypes, embracing a deeper understanding. I'm your host, Kristen Griffiths, a fellow seeker on this path. Join me on a journey as we dive into conversations with experts, unraveling stigmas, and expanding our awareness to something profound. This is your invitation to open your mind with me as together we bring clarity to the fascinating complexities of human consciousness. Welcome back to Clarity to Consciousness, the show where we seek to explore and clarify the vast and often mysterious terrain of human consciousness. I'm your host, Kristen Leigh Griffiths, and today we're diving into a soul-stirring topic that's past life regression. What if patterns, phobias, gifts, and relationships we experience in this life are deeply connected to the stories we lived before? What if healing, understanding, or even remembering who we truly are requires going beyond the present and into the past? My guest today, Daniel, also known as the Past Life Regressionist, helps people access memories from other lifetimes through guided regression. With numerous sessions under his belt, Daniel supports clients in uncovering karmic roots, soul themes, and healing opportunities. Whether you've had a regression, are curious about reincarnation, or simply want to explore the soul's journey through a new lens, this conversation is for you. Daniel, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here and chat with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too, although I'm going to have to stop looking at myself. That's another story. Vanity is one of the lessons I'm working on in this life.
That's interesting. So, and you're in LA, so I think that's a very, has a tendency to be a little bit of a vain area to live.
I'd like to think of myself as someone who's not typically LA, even though I am born and raised here. I like to say please and thank you. I'll make eye contact with people, hold the door open for them, acknowledge their presence, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you leave LA and you see people being nice.
Really? That's interesting. I've visited, but never lived there. But all my interactions with you have been fantastic. You're really nice guys as far as I've been able to get to know you.
Thank you. Yeah. Other lives, not so much. This one, I like to think I'm okay.
Well, I'm so excited to get into that. But to begin, can you share a little bit about how you first became aware of past lives and what led you to be a regressionist?
So I think the first place to start would be how rigid I am and how stuck in my ways I am. I'm just someone who, it's not very easy to push me from any particular place, although I am open to new information. With that said, I am someone who for a very long time, and even still to this day, almost needs proof in order to fully believe in something. And I know it's ironic that I became a past life regressionist, but when I was younger, I would think about stuff like this. But the problem was it couldn't be proven. And being a product of the system, you can't really give stock to things that you can't prove if science can't measure it. So I may think about it a little bit, but never really went there because I don't know if it's real or not. Fast forward to my early 20s, I came down with an autoimmune disorder and I put all my faith and belief in Western medicine. And I'm like, it's going to do it, because then all the doctors said, we're going to fix you. And time after time, I would come up empty. And after about 6 years at that point, I finally came to this place where I'm like, you know what? I think I need to explore some alternative treatments. And I'm just talking about something as basic as going to an herbalist or experimenting with Chinese medicine. Past life regression was way out of sight at that point. But what was interesting is when I decided to let these things into my life, I started noticing things kind of just popping up, later having that terminology to be synchronicity. Past life regression just ended up falling into my lap one day. And I learned about it through two people I really respected. And they shared their experience with it. And I said, you know what? I don't know why they would lie about this. Maybe there's something to it. So I thought about it. I gave it a try. And it just completely changed my life. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit that when I was doing my research on it, I did see a lot of information saying that it can cure illnesses, and it can cure disease, and it can fix a lot of things. So I went in with an expectation that I was going to walk out of that session healed. That didn't happen. I know it's the best thing for me to say for that, but I also think it would have been too easy if I walked away healed, because I may have just gone on with my life at that point. But what happened for me was something that was much more profound, which was I had a shift in perspective. So I walked out of that first session a firm believer in past lives. And I think it's always important to differentiate between belief and knowing. The knowing being where you can prove it, where it's factually true. I couldn't prove it, but it was so profound that my belief system changed to, yeah, I'm on board with past lives. I fully believe it. I believe in past lives. So by default, I believed in future lives. So I walked away saying, you know what? Next time it could be better. It could be worse. These are the cards I've been dealt this time. So how am I going to play them? And when I looked in the mirror, I no longer saw a sick person. I just saw someone who had to deal with some stuff. So that was huge for me, to not view myself in that way and to not be limited by my limitations. They just were. It was what it was. And there were other things that I could do. So over the next year, I tried past life regression a few more times, still was loving it. And I had been thinking about getting certified. Then my past life regressionist said, I think you should get certified. I think she also just wanted me to do sessions for her. But I decided to do it because, one, being in LA, traffic is a big thing. I was pretty tight-lipped about trying past life regression because, I didn't want people to think I was weird. But the couple people that I did tell about it, I really wanted them to go try it. But she lived about 20 miles away from me, and 20 miles can be a couple hours. So they're like, no, but you don't understand. It's incredible. You really won't take the couple hours? No. Okay, so one of my motivations was to bring that experience to the people that I cared about. Another one was I just thought it was really cool. So I found it fascinating at that point to be on the other side of it and to also get to know someone on a much deeper level. Because even when you're in therapy, your therapist gets to know who you are in this life. I get to understand who you are in this life and where you've been in others, which I just find fascinating. And I think most importantly, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being duped. So I went through the same exact certification process that she went through. And I came out of it saying, you know what? I didn't get duped. It is what it is. There are no tricks there. So that was in 16, and I've been a past life regressionist ever since.
Well, and I'm sorry to hear about your autoimmune disease.
Thanks. I mean, I probably messed up in a past life. So no, I don't attribute it to karma, but I appreciate that. It is what it is, but I can't say for sure that I wouldn't have found myself in this place had it not been for that. But I'm pretty confident that it took something very drastic to push me to a place where I would have even entertained the idea of something like past life regression. So like I said, I can't say for sure that I wouldn't have found it, but what I can say for sure is that it was that sequence of events that led me to where I am now. And had it not been for my autoimmune issues, I wouldn't have explored alternative treatments.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had a need to.
Yeah. Well, I do like to believe that the universe is always working in our favor. I think that that's something that helps serve me. And I'm sure that this is serving you in some way, even if it's sometimes hard to see.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But for those who are completely new to it, and maybe you can talk a little bit about your own experiences that really solidified your belief in it. But can you explain exactly what it is? Because I feel like I probably have a lot of listeners who have no experience with it whatsoever.
So I will give you my understanding of it. So I think it's one of those things that we can't fully measure. So how do we know exactly what the process is and where we're drawing it from? I may jump around a little bit here. So I'll start with just kind of describing a session. First thing I do is send out a pre-session questionnaire to whoever I'm working with. And that's questions that they have about their own life. Because towards the end of the session, we will go speak with the higher self, the subconscious, your spirit guides. Terminology can get a bit wonky there, but it's something that knows about you from a different vantage point. That also helps me understand who you are and what you're looking for. But we go over that during the pre-session. And the pre-session will last anywhere from about 1 hour to 3 hours. And that's just where we talk about you, who you are in this life, because I need to understand the patterns of this life in order to know what we need to explore when it comes to the past life regression. Because the difference between me and a past life reader is that I'm never saying to you, Kristen, you were a fisherman, or like you were a Navy captain, or you were a farmer. I am never telling you anything. You are the one who is having the experience yourself, and you are relaying to me what you're experiencing. My job as a guide at that point is to say, okay, I remember when you brought up this thing during the pre-session. I think we should explore this a little bit more. So I'll ask questions based off of what you are providing me with. And where that information comes from, this is my understanding of it, doesn't necessarily mean what it is. It could be coming from your subconscious, could be coming from superconscious, which my understanding is that's what resides outside of us. Because of course the question becomes, if we are accessing memories, and in a biological sense, we're taught to believe that memory resides inside of the brain. Biologically, it would make sense that you would have those memories from this life in this body. But if we're coming from other lives, how does that memory get transferred into your brain? I'm not saying it doesn't, but you're not necessarily remembering from everything in this life. So is there something that transfers over, imprints onto you when you're born, or are we accessing that from outside of ourselves? And then, the question about memory comes into play then. But you will then have an experience that I think makes something more tangible for you that you're trying to get to the bottom of. I'm going to be the first one to admit also, I believe that the process is real. I believe that most, if not all people, are accessing past life memories, but I'm not opposed to the idea that it is just a projection of the subconscious, something for you to, again, understand in a more tangible way as a parallel to whatever you're experiencing in this life right now, so you can identify the problem and relate to it in that more tangible way. Because I think a lot of the issues us dumb humans run into, just speaking for myself there, where I feel like I need to understand in order to move forward. And if I don't understand what the issue is, well, I can't move forward then. Then again, maybe it's a convenient excuse that I use. But I think that's where the real magic happens, is in the gathering of the information in the past life regression, because it's about what you decide to do with that information once it's presented. Just say, for example, you're in a very difficult relationship and you are able to identify this person in other lives and seeing that there's a pattern there. Then you have the opportunity to say, you know what? I want to break this pattern. I don't want to do this anymore. I see that this has been repeating itself for many lifetimes. And if the probabilities play out, it will probably happen again if I don't do something about it. So I think that's what I mean in that tangible sense, when you get to see that this is something that's been playing out. And then you get to decide, what do I do with this information? That's also the beauty of free will, because you can say, you know what? I don't want to do anything. I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. I don't know if you want to kick the can down the road to another life, but that's the beauty of the process, is you are your own authority. And I have no control whatsoever over what you do with the information, which also means I'm not here to heal you. You're here to heal you. You are the one who has the power to do all of that, and it's your choice. So then we will move to the higher self portion, or the subconscious, superconscious portion. And what we're basically doing at that point is unlocking access to a part of your brain that you don't have access to in your normal waking state. And that's where you can ask any question that you want to have the answer to. Anything about your life, anything outside of you. The worst response you can get is no. No, it's not the time to know that. You will understand later. But most, if not all, questions are answered. And I will say, for the no responses, I think people get it. I think sometimes there may be a little disappointment with an expectation that was going to be answered, but it's okay. I get why now is not the right time, which is my very long-winded way of saying I'm pretty sure there's something outside of us that knows what's best for us in that moment and what we're ready to receive, what we're ready to handle. Because I've had a lot of people say to me beforehand, what if I see something that's so horrific and I can't move past it? What I can tell you is, in the nearly decade that I've been doing this, I've never had someone say to me after the fact, that was too much. Even for the stuff that's been heavy, no one has ever said to me, that was too much for me. For me personally, it took me 4 years to start seeing heavy things in my own sessions, because I wasn't ready for it. Didn't matter how ready I thought I was. I needed more life experience to get to that point where I probably wouldn't be as affected by it, had I done it earlier. Oh, there's something that I'm pretty sure knows what we can handle, and something that is bringing you to those places. Now, here's another possibility I'm going to throw out for your audience. What if that person is you? What if you know, and you are the one taking yourself there? And who would know better than what you can handle than you? And again, what is that you? Is it the conscious you, the one that you're aware of? Is it a you that resides outside of yourself? Is it the you that is in the tapestry of all? Is non-duality a thing? And if it is, does that mean that duality isn't a thing? Or can both be true at the same time? My very, very, very long-winded way of saying, I know I said long-winded, but who knows? That's the best way I can put it. And to loosely quote Socrates, all I know is that I know nothing.
So you mentioned that you go into an altered state. Mm-hmm. When people go through this, are they typically aware of what they're saying when they're doing it? Do they remember it afterwards, or do you have to record them and play it back?
Yeah, so I do an audio recording for everyone. And like I said, in the nearly decade I've been doing this, I think I've only had maybe 2 or 3 people that have gone so deep that they have no recollection of it. But it is hypnosis, but it's not hypnosis in the stereotypical sense, meaning there's no implementation of suggestion. It's really just a guided meditation. Another practitioner, her name is Tiffany. She actually put it to me the best way. It's an interactive guided meditation. So you are fully aware of what's going on. You may feel super relaxed, but you know what you're saying, you know what you're experiencing. With the memory component, I would liken it to an hour to 2 hour phone conversation, where when you come back, you remember the gist of it, but you don't remember every little detail. So same thing with a regression. Like you remember, but just not every little detail. And that's where the audio recording will fill in the gaps.
Okay. Yeah. So, question about your technique. Some people may be familiar with Dolores Cannon. She's somebody whose books that I've found fascinating, a famous past life regressionist. Have you adopted any of her techniques in your practice?
Yeah, I am certified in QHHT, which is her modality. I'm also certified in one known as Beyond Quantum Healing. And I think that QHHT is a remarkable, there is something special about it. And it's fascinating to me the way that process evolved. And I think it has been a huge pillar in the space and a very necessary pillar. I'd like to see where it goes in the future and how hopefully it continues to evolve as we all evolve. Yeah, I think it's a remarkable process. And I think she was someone who was very tapped in. And unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to meet her. She passed away, I want to say, about, 2 years before I was certified, somewhere around there. And it would have been cool to meet her.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a force. You see a lot of videos online about her. If any listeners haven't delved into Dolores Cannon's work, she's pretty remarkable. Her books are fantastic. So can you walk us through maybe one of your experiences, if you don't mind sharing? And if it's too personal, I totally understand. Just to kind of give a sense of the kinds of things people may uncover, like maybe some examples.
My own personal sessions?
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing.
Where do I start? It's funny you bring that up, because out of all the interviews I do, I'm rarely asked that question.
Really?
So,
well, I'm just so good at my job here.
Yeah. I mean, hats off.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you're like, you also could be thinking like, why did she ask me that? That's such an annoying question.
Oh, no, I like the new questions are always fun.
Okay, good.
I got a question about like, how'd you get into this? That one I'm used to. Mm-hmm. So for me, my very first session, you mind if I just roll with this? This may go in some interesting directions.
Yeah. I mean, hey, let's roll with it.
All right. So as I said before, I went in there with this expectation that I was going to be healed from my health issues. Didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Totally cool. Although it would have been nice, but totally cool.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I was someone who had a lot of internalized anger. It was something I never really expressed outwardly. I just would suppress everything. So I was carrying around all of this anger. And that was one of the first things that was gone. It was gone after that session.
Wow.
Well, it was beneficial, I'll put it that way. But of course, it's always going to be a process. So don't let me forget to touch on that one a little bit more. One of the things that was very prevalent for me throughout the course of my life was I've always been a little bit behind when it comes to my contemporaries. I guess that's the best way to put it. Things just take me a little bit longer. And even when I would find success and I would see success for what it was, I felt like a failure. And what I uncovered in that first session was there was a life that I lived where I was in charge. And the best way I can, kind of tee it up is, we'll just say it was like a village that I was, the chief of or the leader of. And I went to confront the opposing leader to put an end to their bombardment of us. Once I did that and basically put an end to it, I had also found out at that point that the proverbial button had already been pushed. And while I was gone, the attack was sent. So even though I defeated this person and succeeded in that, I was a failure because I didn't get there soon enough, or I wasn't able to stop it. So there was this correlation with, even though there's success, you still feel like a failure. So once I saw that, I was able to then walk away from the situation in this life and say, now I can see a success for what it is, a win. I see a failure for what it is, a failure, or a lesson, something to grow from. So that's what really changed for me in that first session. Now with the anger component.
Yeah.
This is something that I think is really important to take into consideration for everyone listening right now, everyone who's on a spiritual path. Don't buy into the crap. Don't buy into all the fluffy stuff and the whole, you're here to rise above being a human. Maybe. But when I came around to all this and was starting to, dig in, and the lessons were just like, oh no, if you have negative emotions, then you're not evolving. You're not on this path of ascension. You're not a spiritually evolved being. You're a human having a 3D experience. You're going to be stuck in the old earth.
Mm-hmm.
I played into that.
Yeah.
So with that, what I often say to people before a session with what we have the capacity and capability to do is I say, I want you to picture a mountain right now. You got to walk up that mountain and you have a backpack full of rocks. What we can do is we can empty that backpack for you. So it's not as difficult for you to climb up the mountain. You still have to climb up the mountain, but it's just not going to be as hard. But on the way up, it's your responsibility that that backpack does not fill up with rocks again, because somehow rocks are going to fall into your backpack in this example. So in my eyes, anytime I would have felt anger, I brushed it off because I wanted to be more evolved than that. I don't want to be low vibrational. And I really prided myself upon not having any more anger because it felt like I had really triumphed over that feeling and I didn't want to go back to it. But as the years rolled on, I came to this point where I realized you're an idiot. You are a fool if you thought you were going to get beyond this. You are a human. You are in a human body. You're going to have human emotions. That's just what it is. I mean, unless you go sit in a cave for your entire life and you have nothing that's going to bother you or hate you from the outside, then you're going to be human. So it was something that I neglected for a very long time. And I realized I was doing myself a huge disservice by not letting myself get angry and not feeling those feelings and just pushing them down. So that's what came out of that session as well. But that was kind of the detriment of it. And again, that was my choice, whether or not I wanted to proceed without feeling anger. Again, I don't think the willpower alone could have done it. I kind of deluded myself into believing that. Then again, if anyone is listening right now and you found the magic solution to it, please reach out to me and let me know what I'm missing there. Because if it's there, I want to know. So it's been a constant evolution, even from that first session that was over 10 years ago. It's still playing itself out, even though I've probably had 35 or 40 sessions since then for myself.
Yeah.
That first one is still rolling itself out, just like all the others are. But it's been my choice how I've decided to proceed with it. So that was my first experience, and it continues to shape who I am. And I don't regret the decisions I made because I think that was just part of my lesson to decide along the way how I proceeded. But I'm also proud of myself for coming to that place a few years ago where I said, you know what? You were an idiot. You were such an idiot. You have the opportunity now to correct it. So,
yeah, I mean, I've even had those experiences too, where it's like you want to bypass being human. And then I think after a few years of that, I was kind of like, there's a reason that we're here. I mean, you are here to experience those limitations to learn from them, right? And so you almost have to take those limitations and appreciate them for what they are while you have them.
Mm-hmm. I think we grow from the pain as much as it sucks. And even if you believe that you're here to save the world, you're still human and you're still going to have those human emotions. And even if you believe you came from elsewhere, still a human this time around. And be human, feel those feelings. Like you said, don't spiritually bypass them. And this is coming from someone who's done a lot of spiritual bypassing. So, I mean, is your audience familiar with the concept of spiritual bypassing?
We've never talked about it. So I think it's worth mentioning.
You want to take that one or you want me to?
No, I think you should.
So my understanding,
I don't even know if I know it well enough to explain it.
I could give you the definition. I'll just put myself on blast.
Okay.
So this is where I'm going to sound a little pretentious for a second.
That's okay.
I think it was 8 years ago. I was in a classes was on spiritual bypassing. And I don't know, there's probably 10 people in the course and we're all sitting in a circle. And my teacher was talking about this concept and I'm just sitting there like, oh crap, this one is. He came around to me. It's like, what's your thought on it? I'm like, it sounds like a waste of time. It was also kind of about shadow work at the time. That's what it was. It was, and spiritual bypass was just the component. And I said, why would I want to do shadow work? Why? I know why I'm here. I'm here to help the world. I'm here to help people release their karma or whatever that is and help them live a more fulfilling life. Why would I spend time looking at my shadows? That's just going to take away from my purpose, from what I can be doing in the world, helping humanity rise to a new level of consciousness. That is a waste of time. Boy, did I feel like an idiot after that one. So that was spiritual bypassing because I was using spiritual concepts to not look at the difficult things, because shadow work is when you look at those parts of yourself that kind of reside in the shadows, the things that aren't easy to see. They can be beautiful through the ugliness. And I didn't want to look at that. So I use those concepts. Oh, well, I'm here to help the world. I have a purpose here. I am here to uplift humanity. That was spiritual bypassing because I was using those concepts that were presented to me as, oh, you're special, you're gifted, you're this and that, blah, blah, blah. Great to hear, but can be incredibly detrimental as well. So I was afraid. That's what it is. Plain and simple. I was afraid. That's why I said no. That's why I spiritually bypassed. And I'm not saying that everyone who spiritually bypasses is operating from a place of fear. That was just me. And the irony is, I've realized as time has gone on, that was the gateway to mysticism. You couldn't avoid that. You had to learn what it meant to be human, because when you look at that phrase of some but not all, which on the surface is just like, whatever. But I'm going to venture to guess right now that a lot of your listeners are going to resonate with what I'm about to say right now. How many times have you said, this always happens, or they always do this? It always. Is it always, or is it sometimes, but not always? Right? But when you look at it through that lens, you have no idea how impactful that can be when you start shifting your perception of when these things come up. Because then when you actually say to yourself, wait, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens sometimes, but not all the time. Something shifts in you. And that's why that language and terminology was so important. And I just didn't want to accept it at the time. Look, I'm far from that place of walking through that gateway of mysticism, but I see it a little more clearly now and why that stuff is important and why you can't bypass the experience of learning about your thought process and just the way you tick. So that even kind of links up with past life regression. And there is the potential for a lot of spiritual bypassing there, because I can say, well, I was just a jerk to you because that's my pattern from the 15th century. I'm just bringing it forward and living it out instead of accepting responsibility for it. Yeah, I was a jerk to you. That was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I can do better next time. Or, astrology, which I'm a firm believer in, but it's like using that to make excuses and bypass the experience of, no, I was wrong and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring up astrology. I'm like, because I'm an Aries, the god of war. So when you were talking about the anger, I almost said, yeah, I can relate to that. I'm an Aries and I'm always, and a fire sign. And that comes out sometimes. So I can relate to it. Such important points that you bring up. I am so glad that we talked about it. So thank you for taking a minute to call that out.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Something interesting I wanted to ask you, in your experience with your clients, does anyone ever recall a life from
Bring it on. Come on.
I know. Okay, so typical host question, but anyone ever?
Yes.
Okay.
You're going the ET route right now, right?
Yeah, okay. Yes. Okay. Wait. Let me just get it out, because not everybody might not know what I'm about to ask. Non-human past lives that are non-human. Go.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on now. No, I'm just kidding. No, tell me all about it. I want to know.
This is one of those areas that gets tricky also, because I know this is what everyone wants to hear. And I think this is also where just thought patterns and terminology become so important, because there's a difference between wanting and needing. So the one, of course, the desire is to hear. And don't worry, I'm going to touch on this. Just set it up. Yeah, we want to hear about it, but do we need to hear about it? How does it enhance our human experience other than giving us that potential to wish that we were off world and living a life somewhere else? Maybe. Yes, it happens. I think it has the potential to be beneficial depending on what you do with it. Now, the way that I approach that in sessions is to focus on the lesson. I don't want to ask questions about, well, what race are you? What's your planet name? Because why? How does that? I have a limited amount of time to keep you in that space and get to the bottom of an emotional issue. Why talk about that? Why spend time? Because look, you could be like, I'm on planet, but it's Mars. Because in that life, you guys knew it as, and not Mars. So we've just wasted that time talking about that. And it's like, oh, well, it's green. Well, we know it is red, but it was green. So yeah, it happens. And again, I think it's what you do with it. And I don't want to sound like I'm on, preaching from a pedestal right now, but for anyone in the audience who wants to do a session to explore that, I would really take a moment to ask yourself, why? Why is that what you want to explore? And how will that help you? And if you know how that will help you, and how that would be more beneficial than getting to the root of another issue and saying, I want to understand why I act this way, or why this pattern is here, or how I can live a more fulfilling life. I think it's important to ask yourself why you want to explore lives off planet. Because if you look at what that means, it's like, you're really not here right now. if you're thinking of elsewhere, if you want to be elsewhere. By the way, I may be speaking from my own personal experience here. So, kind of looking in that mirror. So
Yeah.
it happens, and it's cool. It's really cool. I mean, one more thing to piggyback on that. Early in my career, those were the sessions that I lived for. I was very disappointed when it would be like, oh, we got a farmer again. Oh, we got someone else who lost another baby.
Mm-hmm.
And that all started to change once I realized that, yeah, that stuff may be cool, but how does that move the needle? How does that help
Right.
someone in their life now? And you
Right.
lost a baby in that life. Okay, now let's get to the bottom of that, because that's going to relate to something you're feeling right now, whether it's loss or blocking a pregnancy for whatever reason on a subconscious level. Let's get to the bottom of that. Oh, you were a farmer? Let's understand the process of monotony, or being out there and working with your hands, and that feeling of, I have a sense of purpose in picking crops all day, and I actually enjoyed it. And using that to enhance your life in the here and now. So boring, maybe. Meaningful, much more meaningful than an off-planet life.
Right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So your goal is really to serve somebody now in this life, and maybe those interesting, fun, fascinating stories about being off planet doesn't necessarily do that service to that individual. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean if it doesn't come up naturally, or I'm sorry, if it comes up naturally, then we'll explore it. My whole thing is just like, why is that what you want to, like, going into the session? You're like, I want to explore my off-planet or planet lives, or I want to explore the life where I was a Lemurian priestess.
Yeah.
Well, what if you weren't? What if you weren't a Lemurian priestess, but you want to explore a life where you were? Mm-hmm. So I think expectation can be our enemy in this place, because as much as I believe in this process, I also believe in the will of the human spirit. And if someone is looking for confirmation bias, they're going to find it.
Yeah. What about things like phobias, for example? Some of them can be very odd. I have a little bit of a weird one that I in particular would like to uncover with a session. But have you ever seen somebody come out of that, understanding it better, where it stemmed from, and was able to release it, or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's good.
That happens a lot with the water ones. A lot of times
Water ones.
when I hear from
Like
people,
with the water phobia.
Like for someone who's even afraid going into a pool, just they can't go in deeper than their ankles. And I mean, there have been so many times where I've had that happen for someone, and then I get a message from them saying, I went swimming today. I put my head under the water and it was great. So what happens in those moments, from the way I see it, again, I think this is where we get into this area of never delivering a statement as an absolute, because I'm human, and how can I possibly understand the complexity of how this really happens? So for that circumstance, is it just a matter of having a more tangible understanding of, oh, I drowned in that life, whether it's falling off a boat, someone wrapping you up in chains and strapping a bunch of cinder blocks to you and dropping you in a river, or drowning just in a swimming pool, whatever it may be. Is it as simple as uncovering that? Maybe. But there are also times where we go through a process of releasing it. And somehow, on some level, it works. I don't know how it works, but it works. And here's the other thing. Maybe it is just a placebo effect.
Yeah.
But who cares? If it is a placebo effect and it works in that circumstance, right? Why does it matter if it was linked to a past life, or just to something inside of you that finally says, you know what? I don't need to be afraid of this. And I mean, that's still like what I'm talking about, never talking in absolutes and saying, I don't know, but it's okay. Because there is something that is working on your behalf in that situation. And do you need to know the why, as opposed to one more story from my teacher who, basically helped me realize that I was spiritually bypassing without directly telling me. He once said to me one day, a tear appears in the upholstery on that chair. What do? I said, you find out how the tear appeared. He's like, no, you fix the tear. I said, that's ridiculous. Tears don't just magically appear in chairs. You have to find out what caused the tear, or it could happen again. He says, no, you fix the tear. And of course, back and forth. It's like, well, look, you have an arsonist lighting fires. Don't you want to go after the arsonist? I also saw his point. You still got to put out the fires. So I think there's somewhere in between with that, which is just fix the chair. And at that point, the why may not even matter, because maybe that tear will never appear again. And by just fixing the tear, you've taken care of the problem. I'm still grappling with that one.
Yeah. Another thing about the phobia that I wanted to get your thoughts on. So I had read something I think it was just on Instagram. So,
Awesome.
that's my source. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. It says that humans are only born with 2 fears, and then the rest are sort of programmed. 1 is loud noises, and 2 is heights. And so for people who develop these fears, fear of speaking in public, water, for example, mine, which I'll say it because I'm sure everybody's dying to know what mine is. Mine's weird. Mine's a fear of being around people when they're vomiting. It's a problem. My kid threw up the other night and I was like having a full-on panic attack. So it sucks. So
That'd be a fun one.
No, I know. Sorry.
Oh, no, because I'm just thinking, oh man, what would that be like if that was linked to a past life? That's fun.
I know. Well, so yes, exactly. So I guess my thought is like, how do you know when the trauma was just developed in this lifetime? So, and then like, do you not get a solve for it? Or is it, or is there like clues that it could be from a past life that you might be able to resolve with a regression?
I mean, look, on a very basic level, I would just say, is there anything in this life you can think of that contributed to that phobia?
Well, for me, I mean, nothing significant other than just seeing it happen and not enjoying it. It's like, one time my brother, he was little and he ate like some crud off of a lawnmower battery. And I think there was probably a heightened sense of fear because it was poison. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was it. But yeah, I don't know.
So in that situation, like I would look for every logical explanation as to why you would have that phobia. And then if you're going to come up short, like, look, for the battery, I didn't hear anything about throwing up there.
Oh, well, he threw up. He ate it and then he threw up.
Okay. Again, without getting too graphic, I'm like, did he throw up on you? And, did...
No. I just saw it. Like, I just saw that it happened. And I was like, I don't know.
If I were to guess, I would say it probably comes from somewhere else. Because like the way that I look at it is you can have someone that's going to cry at the sight of a toothpick breaking. I may find it ridiculous that they're full on bawling over a toothpick, but it's real to them. And there's something about it that allows them to have a very visceral reaction to that in a very meaningful way to them. So, and it's like, once you've eliminated all of the possibilities in this life, could there be things that you're not remembering? Sure. Could there be something you're suppressing? Potentially. But I don't know, for that one, that just seems like one where it's like, it would have been pretty horrific. Yeah. And I can think of a lot of situations that could probably contribute to that probably wasn't only about the vomiting, but things that were going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Where it's the emotion of all of that rushes back to you. So it's set off by the vomiting.
Yeah.
But what you're feeling is everything else, where it's like, this is way out of proportion. Like, this feels like the end of the world right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's like some sort of disease where you're like it's like rampant. Like, because I particularly have a strong reaction when I'm afraid it's tied to like some sort of virus, like some disease. So maybe it, I don't know.
Or that could have been another life.
Yeah, for our listeners, I'm gonna figure this out, and I will do a follow-up. I will let y'all know.
Fear of vomit. I don't think I've ever heard that one before. That I was like, oh, that would be interesting.
Okay, all right.
Well, because then me and my vivid imagination, it's just like I see a room of 10,000 people, or that, or it's like an arena, and it's like a comedy movie at that point where the cow just stopped right there.
Yeah. I mean, those thoughts have occurred to me too. Or it's also being trapped in a situation where I can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, then you could also. Now, sorry, it's running with. I'm like, maybe you choked on your vomit and died from it at one point, and I could just.
Okay, so it could be something like that.
Could be.
All right, so I can't believe how fast our time has gone today. I mean, and there's so many other questions I still want to ask you. Do you think that there's anything we didn't cover? Well, I guess, okay, so the one thing I do want to ask, which I think the skeptics out there will want to understand, is how can you tell if people are doing it themselves? How can you tell they're not just making it up and, or it's just their imagination? I mean, I guess, like, what makes it real in these, if you've never done it before, you've never seen it before, what makes it real that people should actually take stock into this type of therapy, I guess you could call it?
So when you say doing it on their own, or do you mean like a guided meditation recording? Or
right. People are telling you what they're seeing or experiencing. Mm-hmm. How do you know they're not just making it up?
Well, I'm never going to say that it can't get past me, But my job is pattern recognition.
Yeah.
So when a pattern presents itself, I put a lot of stock in the pattern. And there's a way that a session unfolds. And if it starts to unfold unnaturally, I can kind of tell that, again, that this is where that confirmation bias comes into play and where things just don't quite line up. It doesn't happen much, but I'm also the kind of practitioner who's not going to buy into it. And I'm not going to treat it as if it's being fabricated, but I'm going to ask questions that will kind of let it come to the surface. Like I said, it's rare that happens because I think the overwhelming majority of people come wanting to actually get to the bottom of an issue and not just feel that, the spiritual vanity. So look, if that's the case, then let them make it up too. That's my whole thing is if you want to go through this process just so you can make something up, have at it. And I'm not going to encourage it if it becomes very obvious to me that, because yes, it has happened where it's pretty obvious that, but it's only a handful of sessions out of all that I've done in a decade. But that's their lesson too. I mean, I will say to them, well, I don't know. It could have been, but here was my take on it. And then ask, why do you think that was important? Because I think the best thing you can do is ask someone a question. So that's what I'm going to do. And even after the regression, we take time to talk. We're going to debrief. And hopefully whoever's doing the session will walk away wanting to live a more fulfilling life and a more honest and real life. And like I said, confirmation bias can be a tricky thing, but have at it. I think you're only doing a disservice to yourself if you're making that stuff up. Now, here's the other thing. What ends up happening that I find fascinating is there's a thread. Early on in my career, I usually only had people who were seeing 1 or 2 lives. But as time has progressed, most of the people I work with are seeing 3 to 5 lives. I still have people who only see 1, but most people are seeing more.
In one session?
In one session, yeah.
With you? And how long is the session typically? Like when they're
the whole session is 3 to 5 hours, but the actual regression is 1 to 2 hours.
Wow. Okay.
And there is a common theme that takes place in lives that look completely unrelated. So to me, there's that indication of here's a thread. And the thread is so damn near perfect. And it's so mundane also. That's the other thing. Because like, why is someone going to lie about being a farmer? Why are they going to lie about their back hurting when they're out in the fields? Like, why is this person going to lie about being a chambermaid? Why? It's like, why? But the thread that's there. And in that moment of realization, once we're talking about after of like, my God, I see the thread. I see the common theme. That to me is that indication that this is real. Again, it's not saying that was definitively their past life though, because I think there's always that possibility where they are drawing from the collective consciousness and one may be in there because that theme needs to be cohesive, but I don't think it matters at a certain point because at the end of the day also, I don't give a damn who you were. I don't care what your life was. And I don't think you should care either. I think you should only take away what the lesson was. So again, so if that wasn't your life, but it's in there to keep it cohesive, well, you shouldn't be focusing on that life anyways. It's just, what's the lesson? And again, I could have it completely wrong. Maybe who you were is all that's important. And that's the takeaway. I'm open to the possibility, but I don't think so. So I think it's possible, yes, to make things up. But most of the time, why?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great perspective on it. I mean, that makes sense.
Like they could do much better than that if they're going to make something up.
Yeah. I mean, and like who is that serving? It's certainly not serving them. It's just wasting their money.
Right. And like for me, I know that I've been doing this for a while, but I don't think that I could even contrive something like that of having a theme that cohesive, even knowing the process of like, I'm going to do this. It's going to play out this way and blah, 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 blah. And then this, and it's like, it's just seamless. It's just the way, but it's seamless. And it's like, there's something.
So basically it's so complex and mind blowing but like, it would be really hard to make up. That's what I'm taking away.
It's like, you would have to completely, I'm saying you spend years like mapping something out, every little fine detail.
Yeah.
But it links up a lot with what's said during the pre-session. And there's just, I'm always going to look and scrutinize everything that crosses my path and never take anything at face value. And I scrutinize the hell out of this stuff. Of course, I don't want to discount it, but I'm always looking for the inconsistencies in any given session, even if I'm fully believing someone, which again is the case most, if not all the time.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, but not all. Yeah.
Well, this has been such a fun conversation and so interesting and enlightening. I do want to finish up our conversation with the questions I ask all my guests. The first being, reflecting on this chat that we had, what's one takeaway you hope listeners remember about past lives and the work that you're doing?
This life is the only one that matters. If you want to explore that to enhance this life, I think that's okay. But this life is the only one that matters. The other ones don't matter. I mean, of course, they're the totality of who you are, but spending too much time thinking about it, I think is foolish. And again, I'm guilty of it. So, yeah, this life is the only one that matters. And that goes for the future as well. I think if you're, maybe if you want to have me back on again, we talk about the nature of time and whether or not it's linear or not. So the future is kind of up for grabs at that point. But if you're living your life for what comes next, I think you're making a mistake. And same thing, if you're too attached to the past or relating too much to the past, I think you're not living in the present. So I know that's very ironic coming from me, that I think that the here and now is what's most important. But that's what I hope the takeaway is that where you are now is the most important place. And it's the only one that you can do anything about right now and live a more fulfilling life in the here and now. And also, if you're wanting to uncover a life where you are royalty, massive waste of time, I think, because universally they seem to be the most miserable people around. So I just want to kind of sprinkle that one in there. But long story short, here and now and this life is the only one, in my opinion, that matters.
And if someone's just beginning their journey into exploring consciousness, what advice would you offer them?
Patience. Take your time. Learn how to crawl before you try to run. And don't just believe anyone because they say they know the answer to something. Feel it out. And people are flawed. Humans are flawed. Your teachers are flawed. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but every human is flawed in one way or another. I believe that every practitioner in this space, and I'm going to include myself in here, we all have bias in one form or another. We all probably somehow project in one way or another. So we're not perfect. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I would say that too. Find the middle ground. I think the extremes can be detrimental in many respects, and in spirituality also. I think if you're laying into it too much, then you're not being here and present in this moment. But patience, because I mean, it's the story of the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady wins the race. So take your time. It's a lifelong journey, and it probably goes beyond this life too. So just if you fall too far back, then you're just going to have to pick up slack. But just slow and steady wins the race.
In your view, what does it mean to live life consciously?
Being honest with yourself about who you are and about your actions, what you're doing, what you're responsible for, who you've helped, who you've hurt, where your blind spots are, where you thrive, where you may fall short. I think it's about self-awareness and just being aware of yourself and your actions. And I don't think it's all about rainbows and butterflies. I think it's about the human experience. If you're pissed off, get pissed off. Don't be a jerk, but feel the anger, feel the sadness, feel the grief. If you read an Instagram post that says that you're going to ascend if you have a diet of all watermelon and mangoes, you're probably going to feel a little lightheaded. Yeah, I don't think you're going to ascend. Having that self-awareness of why you want to have that diet and why you want to get out of here and what are you running away from? Because I think all of us are running in one way or another, whether that be from something or towards something. But I think we all have our baggage. So I think that's what it means to live consciously. It's just that level of self-awareness and having those moments of reflection and asking yourself the why.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This has been so fun. I really enjoyed getting the chance to talk to you.
Me as well. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate all your wisdom. And is there anything else that we didn't chat about that you wanted to share before we wrap up today?
Well, I appreciate the comment or the compliment about my wisdom. Again, all I know is I know nothing. I know nothing. I mean, I know I like pizza, but then again, no, I do like pizza. I know that. So maybe there are a couple things I know. Yeah, I mean, I guess the final thoughts are I have a podcast called Timeless Spirituality. If everyone wants to check that out. I have a YouTube page at the Past Life Regressionist. So I do have a past life regression guided meditation up there if you want to try it out. It's not the same as doing a one-on-one, but it can give you the idea. And yeah, I'm on Instagram at the Past Life Regressionist. My website is thepastliferegressionist.com. I have a show on New Reality TV called The Past Life Regressionist. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, if in a linear time sense. And yeah, just, yeah, so check it out. And just thank you for your time. You know, not just you, Kristen, but everyone else who's been listening. It means a lot to me if you've stuck around to this point. And just thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you from me too. We'll be sure to link all your stuff down below. Daniel, thank you. And like Daniel mentioned, we're so appreciative of all of our listeners for being here, supporting us. If you resonated with this episode, please share it with somebody or like it, give it a review. That really helps us out and helps us reach more. So until next time, stay curious, live consciously, and keep seeking clarity. Much love. Bye for now.